Thank you for joining Wars of the Rosies, and this is Freemason from the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry by Albert G. Mackey. Freemason, one who has been initiated into the mysteries of the fraternity of Freemasonry. Freemasons are so called to distinguish them from the operative or stone masons, who constituted an inferior class of workmen, and out of whom they sprung. See stonemasons and traveling Freemasons. The meaning of the epithet, free, as applied to Mason, is given under the word free. In the old lectures of the last century, a Freemason was described as being a free man, born of a free woman, brother to a king, fellow to a prince, or companion to a beggar, if a Mason, and by this was meant to indicate the universality of the brotherhood. The word Freemason was until recently divided into two words, sometimes with and sometimes without a hyphen, and we find in all the old books and manuscripts Freemason or Freemason, but this usage has been abandoned by all good writers, and Freemason is now always spelled as one word. The old constitutions constantly used the word Mason, yet the word was employed at a very early period in the parish registers of England, and by some writers. Thus, in the register of the parish of Astbury, we find these items. 1685, Smallwood, Henshaw Freemason, 3rd degree, died November. 1697, Henshaw Freemason, buried 7 April. But the most singular passage is one found in Haldrei's Treatise of Similes, published in 1609, and which he copied from Bishop Coverdale's translation of Ward Müller's A Spiritual and Most Precious Pearl, which was published in 1550. It is as follows: As the Freemason heweth the hard stones, even so God, the heavenly Freemason, buildeth a Christian church. But in fact, the word was used at a much earlier period, and occurs, Steinbrenner says, for the first time in a statute passed in 1350, in the 25th year of Edward I, where the wages of a master Freemason are fixed at 4 pence, and of other Masons at 3 pence. The original French text of the statute is the following. Here, says Steinbrenner, the word Freemason evidently signifies a free stone mason, one who works in free stone, as distinguished from the rough mason, who merely built walls of rough, unhewn stone. This latter sort of workman was that class called by the Scotch masons Colwins, whom the Freemasons were forbidden to work with, whence we get the modern use of that word. 10 years after, in 1360, we have a statute of Edward III, in which it is ordained that every Mason shall finish his work, be it of free stone or of rough stone, where the French text of that statute is the following. Thus it seems evident that the word Freemason was originally used in contradiction to rough Mason. The old constitutions sometimes call these latter Masons rough layers. Dr. Murray's New English Dictionary has the following. S.V. Freemason. The precise import with which the adjective was originally used in this designation has been much disputed. 3 views have been propounded. 1. The suggestion that Freemason stands for Freestone Mason would appear unworthy of attention, but for the curious fact that the earliest known incidences of any similar appellation are the following, meaning Master Mason of Free Stone, and the following, meaning carvers of free stones, alleged to occur in a document of 1217, Findel's History, 51, citing Wyatt Papworth. The coincidence, however, seems to be merely accidental. 2. The view most generally held is that Freemasons were those who were free of the Masons' Guild. Against this explanation, many forcible objections have been brought by Mr. G.W. Speake, who suggests 3. That the itinerant Masons were called free because they claimed exemption from the control of the local guilds of the towns in which they temporarily settled. 4. Perhaps the best hypothesis is that the term refers to the medieval practice of emancipating skilled artisans in order that they might be able to travel and render their services wherever any great building was in process of construction. And then the following meanings are given. 1. A member of a certain class of skilled workers in stone. In the 14th and following centuries, often mentioned in contradiction to rough masons, legers, etc. They traveled from place to place, finding employment wherever important buildings were being erected, and had a system of secret signs and passwords, by which a craftsman who had been admitted on giving evidence of competent skill could be recognized. In latter use, 16th through 18th century. The term seems often to be used merely as a more complimentary synonym of mason, implying that the workmen so designated belonged to a superior grade. The earliest incident quoted of the word in this sense is in a list of the London City Companies of 1376. 2. A member of the fraternity called more fully Free and Accepted Masons. Early in the 17th century, the societies of Freemasons, in sense one, began to admit honorable members not connected with the building trades, but supposed to be eminent for architectural or antiquarian learning. These were called accepted Masons, though the term Freemasons were often loosely applied to them, and they were admitted to a knowledge of the secret signs and instructed in the legendary history of the craft, which had already begun to be developed. The distinction of being an accepted Mason became a fashionable object of ambition, and before the end of the 17th century, the object of the societies of Freemasons seemed to have been chiefly social and convivial. In 1717, under the guidance of the physicist J.T. Desagres, 4 of these societies or lodges in London united to form a Grand Lodge with a new constitution and ritual and a system of secret signs. The object of the society, as reconstructed, being mutual help and the promotion of brotherly feeling among its members. The earliest instance quoted of the word in this sense is in Ashmole's diary under date 1646. See Ashmole, E.L.H. Gould, in his concise history, says, 2 curious coincidences have been connected with the above year, 1375. The first, that the earliest copy of the manuscript constitutions, Regius Manuscript, refers to the customs of that period. The second, that the formation of a wonderful society, occasioned by a combination of Masons undertaking not to work without an advance of wages, when summoned from several counties by writs of Edward III, to rebuild and enlarge Windsor Castle under the direction of William of Wykeham, has been placed at the same date. It is said also that these Masons agreed on certain signs and tokens by which they may know one another and render mutual assistance against impressment, and further agreed not to work unless free and on their own terms. Hence they called themselves Freemasons, EEC. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Rosies. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.